Okay. So, part of the quest obviously is the reflect, which is always good for you to do and for your students to do. And then the finisher list. The debugging challenge is something that actually came up in our conversation. If you click change size by -100 or +100 many times, the sprite won't go back to the original size. And we talked about how we can fix that with the set size to 100% block. If you use the set size to 100% block, it'll always set the size back to what the original sprite size was. All right, and now we're on to the create project. You are going to build a Scratch project that uses sprites and events to share facts about you, and it's called the About Me project. Um, I know that I'm sure a lot of you have probably done projects that are called the About Me project. I always did one at the beginning of the year for all of my students so that I could learn a little bit about them. It would help me to design my curriculum better when I knew things that they liked or disliked or their cultural differences. It was just interesting for me to find a little bit of information about everyone. I could get a little more personalized with each one of my students. Okay, here is an example About Me project. So you click each of the sprites, since we're still doing clicking sprites in terms of the events. So a very, very simple About Me project where you've got, and this would fulfill the first column in the project checklist, where I've got 3 sprites, each with an event. Each sprite says something and does something. All right, let me go back to this. All right, so you would talk a little bit, you'd run this project, talk about the actions that the sprites did in the project. They said something, they thought something, because they can use either the say or think blocks. There was a sound that was played with the little dog. Change size by with the cupcake, switch costume for my butterfly, switch backdrop with the cupcake, move steps for my dog, and then go to XY, which is what I have on my green flag clicked, so that I take everything, all my sprites back to the beginning. And these are the different events blocks that were used. In this project, did I use all 3 event blocks? So in this project, when I ran this, did I use all 3 event blocks to initiate actions on my sprites? Which one did I not use? Just to give you a hint that I did not use all 3.
The space.
Exactly, the space key, exactly. So in my project, I have the green flag, which resets all of my sprites, and the when sprite clicked to make my sprites do their actions. And the 3 things we learned about the coder is that they like to bake, they like to be in nature, and they like to play with their dog. So again, it's an About Me project, so the ideas or what the sprites should say and what the sprites are in the project should be personalized to each of the students, which you are going to do for us when you work on, well, first you're going to do your planning, and then tomorrow we'll do the build. The About Me checklist. So we've got our three columns. The basic is that they use a backdrop and 3 sprites from the Scratch library. There's 2 scripts for each sprite. Can somebody tell me what the 2 scripts are, the 2 event blocks that the 2 scripts will start with?
The green flag and when the sprites click.
Exactly. So each of my sprites need to have a green flag to reset and a when sprite click to initiate the actions. I use 2 different event blocks in my projects. So I've got those 2 scripts with the scripts. And each sprite says or thinks something about me and does 2 actions. So this is the basic. And then with the middle column, they can import an image for a sprite or a backdrop. They still have the 2 scripts and 3 different event blocks. So in this case now, they might have used a click space key or click a different key for something to happen. The sprite says or thinks something about me and does 2 different actions. And I used at least 1 looks, motion, and or sound block. So the sound block is not required in the first column, but it is an additional that you can add in. And then for the challenge, you can edit a costume or a background. So remember, the challenge includes that you have a backdrop and you have sprites, 3 sprites. I've created 2 scripts for each sprite and 3 different event blocks. They say or think something, and they do actions. And I used a new block for the first time. So there's some ideas of things to try is to make your sprites change size and say something, make them turn, add some background music, or change the sprite's costume or color. All right, so this is the planning guide. You are going to brainstorm 3 to 5 things about yourself. You're going to describe the backdrop. And remember, in the student workbook, we have a picture, we have little screenshots of all the backdrops. So the students can go back to the page 63 and pick one, or they can choose one from the internet. If they have something that they, some place that's special to them, or maybe a picture of their family home or their grandparents' home, they can upload one. 3 sprites that they're going to use. And again, we've got all of the sprites listed in the back of the workbook.
This is from the workbook. So for students can just flip to their workbook in the very back and they can look at what different backgrounds they might want to use. Similarly, this scratch sprites. We took pictures of them all, so then it will help them plan. And they could just write the name of the sprite into the planning guide.
The event, so they're for each sprite, they're going to choose if they're going to do sprite clicked or key pressed, because they can choose key pressed if they want to start the actions for each sprite, the event. And then what they will say when the event is clicked or the sprite is clicked or the key is pressed. And then the 2 other actions that your sprites will do. So we've given some options. We've also given others. So the students have the option of choosing a different action that is not here. And then, of course, we give the code blocks. So we always try to help with the code blocks. They can either write in the code blocks that they're going to do. So they'll put in when either key pressed or sprite clicked or green flag pressed, and what they will say and the actions, the 2 actions that they will complete. And we've got some of the blocks here. They can either use lines to point them to where they would fill into the ghost blocks, or they can write them in. We've got 2 videos here that how to add images outside of Scratch. This is importing either a backdrop or a sprite, and then also how to edit a costume or backdrop. So we've got 2 videos that will help you to learn how to do that. And we've done a little bit of that in the past with the other projects, but it's always good to do a little bit of a refresher if the kids need it. And we've got a turn and talk. So ask a classmate to share his plan, because of course it's always good to share ideas, because you can learn and do new things when you share your ideas with other people. And our wrap up. So now our planning can save you 10 hours of doing, which is true. That's why we have the kids do the planning sheets, because planning is so key to getting them to build the projects quicker than normal. In the past, we didn't do the planning and we just had them start and work on the projects. And we found that it takes twice the time for them to finish a project if they don't have a planning sheet.